Alright folks, in the previous video I did about this 1864 Whitneyville. That inspired me to do a video on some other muzzleloaders that were also used in the Civil War at that time. This is a Kentucky rifle. Now these are reproductions. This is an original, but these are reproductions, but faithfully made reproductions of the muzzleloaders of that time. This would have been a Kentucky rifle, probably largely owned by civilians, but when war broke out, especially the South, they weren't as well equipped as the North. So those who had hunting rifles could also, some of those were used in the Civil War as well. And of course these were single-shot rifles, so some of them carried the single-shot pistol as well for a second follow-up shot. And this was in the Percussion era. The Percussion era didn't last very long. It was probably the shortest era in firearms development. Previous to the Percussion era was the flintlock, and the flintlock lasted for probably a couple of 100 years, whereas the Percussion era didn't last really even a half a century. It was patented in the States in 1822, and the first self-contained metallic cartridge in the United States by Smith & Wesson was in 1857. So these were rimfire 22s at first, and then larger calibers after that, 32 and 44 and so on. But the Percussion era still hung around a bit, right up till the end of the Civil War in 1865. So the Percussion era lasted from about the 1820s till about 1860, so not really 40 years, kind of, not even 40 years, much less half a century. So it was a very short window of time in the development of firearms. And in 1858, this gun was designed, and the patent took out on the design by a fellow Fordyce Beals who worked for Remington. And Remington didn't start making this till 1860, and they really got into full-scale production in 1861 when the war started up. So there's a reproduction as well as made in Italy. However, there's not an original Remington. But it's great to have reproductions because you can fire them, you know, without fear of damaging an antique. But there was still cap locks. You can see the Percussion cap nipples here that you would put the cap onto to ignite your charge. Now, all these have ramrods certainly to load, and this is no exception. This has a ramrod as well. Just look at it this way. This has a ramrod as well that you can put your ball down in each cylinder. So the ramrod is actually built into the frame on this one. But it's still a Percussion era. Now after the Civil War, Roland White's patent, Roland White held a patent on bored-through cylinder, revolving cylinders. So this is how Smith & Wesson kind of held a monopoly on making revolvers till after Roland White's patent ran out in 1870. Nevertheless, it didn't stop a great many innovators from coming up with Percussion rigs that would certainly do the job, you know. So even though the self-contained metallic cartridge was around, the Percussion still held out because the cartridge guns were really expensive, and of course the muzzleloader could be made a lot cheaper. So in times of war, you spend your money as wisely as possible, you know. And some of you, right now, of course, in this stage in the game, many people are not really into muzzleloaders. You know, it's kind of a bit of a traditional thing in the States a bit, but not here, certainly in Newfoundland, not too much that I've heard about. But anyway, for those of you watching who like to fire your muzzleloader, sometimes you find it hard to find caps lately. The Percussion caps could be sometimes a little bit elusive. And these caps that they make for kids' cap guns, I don't know if you've seen these before, but there's 8 of them in a ring. A little ring that goes on these little kids' revolvers that fire these caps. It just makes a bang, you know. Doesn't fire a projectile or anything. So these little caps, they can be used in replacement for an November 11 percussion cap. If you're ever stuck and you can't find caps, you just tear one of those off the ring like so, and they're a little bit smaller than a regular percussion cap. They're a little bit smaller, so you kind of gotta gently persuade them to go on there, but with a little bit of gentle persuasion, they'll go right on the nipple. So there's a substitute in a pinch. If you can't find any percussion caps, you can use these little kids caps, and that's enough of a spark to ignite your powder charge and send your ball down range. So just throw that little hint in there for some of you who still enjoy muzzleloading shooting. I know we're a rare breed nowadays, but some people do enjoy that sort of thing. It is a great bit of fun. It's a bit dirty and so on, but it is a great bit of fun. This old Remington replica, I actually made a bigger grip for that, so it'll be a lot more comfortable to hold on to. Got a really long, heavy barrel on it and so on, so it gives you a little more control over it to be able to hang on. It's got an 8-inch barrel. It's overall over 12 inches long, and it weighs almost 3 pounds. You need a good handle to hold on to. So the little one that came with it was only a little tiny thing, 2 fingers, one on the trigger. Your bottom finger's crowded off the grip, so you got a 2-finger grip basically, you know. So I didn't deem that adequate. Anyway, folks, this is the kind of guns. Now, there were many other types of guns that were used in the Civil War. A lot more different types. A lot of different ideas, and a lot of different inventions during the percussion era. Even though it was a very short window of development time in the history of firearms development, there was a lot of different innovations that came to light with the advancement of this little tiny percussion cap. Well, it was not like this. A real percussion cap was made out of copper or brass, whatever. You know, and those of you who've used them know what I'm talking about. But in a pinch, folks, you could actually get away with this. I've used it a few times, and yes, it can substitute for a number 11 cap. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. This old rifle I picked up in the junk shop didn't have the ramrod, so I made a ramrod for it, and it's been a great bit of fun. This little pistol here, I bought this in a kit form. It changed hands a couple of times, but when I got it, I did assemble it, and that's also been a great bit of fun as well, the Kentucky pistol. And even the Remington too. It's a great bit of fun to fire. It's a lot of smoke. If you're outside as a very calm day, you're going to have to wait till the smoke